What do you call a small SUV that looks like a Subaru XV, has the same engines as the old XV, and measures up almost identical to it? Well, you call it the Subaru Crosstrek, obviously. This is it, the new generation small SUV from the Japanese brand, and it has been improved in some crucial ways, but it's still behind the times in a few others. Stay tuned, and you're going to learn everything you need to know about this car. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit like and subscribe, and hit the bell to keep up to date with everything I'm doing. Thanks. You know the deal, new generation model, new higher pricing. That seems to be the way things go these days, but it's not actually that big of a jump for the new Crosstrek range compared to the old XV. And there are still 3 different grades available, 2 of which come with the option of hybrid technology if you wish. It adds $3,600 to the price for the entry level and top spec versions. The middle one doesn't come with hybrid though. Now let me tell you a little bit about what you get in each of the grades. The entry level one is called the L grade, so 2.0 L or hybrid L, and it comes with some pretty good stuff, honestly. LED headlights, 17-inch alloy wheels, you get an 11.6-inch touchscreen media system, cloth trim on the inside, but a plastic steering wheel, so it isn't necessarily the most plush feeling cabin on the inside. If you choose the hybrid version, you get different wheels to help differentiate it as well. And all models come with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well, I should mention that. In the middle is the 2.0R, which is actually my pick of the range. It gets a different cloth interior trim, leather steering wheel. It also gets 18-inch alloy wheels. Plus, in the R grade, you also score an auto-dimming rear vision mirror and a panoramic view camera. So a surround view camera, which you haven't been able to get in any Subaru before, and that makes it worth the money, I reckon. And if you choose the top spec S grade, so the 2.0 S or the hybrid S, you get some extra stuff that you might like, including a sunroof and a Harman Kardon stereo system and leather accented seat trim, to name a few things. So it might not be worth the extra money to you, but I reckon that the 2.0R is the pick of the range. Look, this car can go a fair way off the beaten track. Hit the link at the top of your screen there and you'll go to my shorts video, an off-road review of the new Crosstrek. I was pretty impressed with how far it went, especially on standard tyres and suspension. But hey, if you are after something that is maybe even more capable, then you might want to check out the Suzuki Jimny 5-door model, which is coming soon. It's a much more off-road focused vehicle than this. Doesn't have quite as much safety technology or general technology as this either. So it might be right for you, but only if you're going to spend more time off-road than on. However, if your definition of off-road is going on the grass at the Oval, or maybe just going on a gravel track to your campsite, then you're probably going to be okay in most other small SUVs with all-wheel drive, or even front-wheel drive, if I'm honest. But there's one other one you probably want to check out, the Suzuki Vitara. I know I've said Suzuki twice now, but it's a pretty good option if you are after something maybe a little bit more rugged and capable, because it's got slightly better ground clearance and off-road angles than some of the other models out there, like a CX-3 or CX-30 or something like that. They're going to struggle to get over bumpy sections of road, where a Vitara might not quite as much. If you're wondering why I haven't mentioned the Jeep Compass in this alternatives, because it's the best alternatives, and that's not one of the best SUVs you can buy. If you've seen any of my other small SUV reviews, you'll probably know that I think that 4.5 meters is what the sweet spot is for this size of SUV. It's pretty much exactly what the Crosstrek measures up at. Now, it looks very, very much identical to the last model, but Subaru insists that this is built on a new platform, the new Subaru Global platform, which enables it to have some extra safety technology and different engine options as well. Hint, hint, wink, wink, there might be something better coming. And unfortunately though, they haven't really paid that much attention to the boot space. It's still the same old story. Let me show you. The Subaru Crosstrek has one of the smallest boots in the small SUV segment. It's under 300 litres, which means that you can basically fit a pram and not a whole lot else, but maybe that doesn't matter to you. And if it does, there's the Forester, which would be a much more practical family SUV. Hit the link up there and watch my review of that one if you want to. Now, the petrol versions have a smaller boot because they have a space saver spare under the boot floor. And if you choose the hybrid model, you don't get a space saver spare, but you do get a slightly bigger boot. One thing that I will call out, no model comes with an electric tailgate, which is a bit backwards in 2023, even on this top spec one. The interior of this new generation Crosstrek model does feel a little bit, well, familiar. I mean, if you've sat in any other Subaru product of the current generation models, like a Forester or an Outback, it's not going to feel weird in here to you because it's very, very, very similar to what else you can find in the Subaru range. That's no bad thing, in my opinion. I think that it's a pretty nice cabin. It just doesn't necessarily feel fresh or brand spanking. I like the fact that you get this big 11.6-inch screen as standard across the range now. It goes against the existing model, which had those twin screens, one up the top, then one here, and it was just a bit busy. Now it's all very much in one spot, and a lot of the controls are through the screen. There are temperature controls and volume knobs, which I like, but the fan controller is part of the screen. At least it stays there at the bottom. I also like that you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on every model, and there's a wireless phone charger in every grade as well, which does make it feel a little bit more up to date than some of the other Subaru models, which are still plug-in. And yeah, it does feel pretty nice in here, I have to say. The material qualities are good. This leatherish patch on the door here is quite nice, and there's soft elbow padding as well. Like I said, in the base model you get a plastic steering wheel, but the leather in the other versions is still a little bit hard. It's not the most supple leather finish. Now, speaking of leather, the seats in this top spec version are leather accented, and it is a pretty nice trim finish, but honestly I actually preferred the 2.0R's cloth trim because it just felt like you were getting a bit better contact with the seat. And the seats have been a real focus for Subaru in this new generation model. They've done a lot of work to make the seats more comfortable and supportive and to stop your head wobbling so much, which was apparently a bit of an issue with the last car. So it is a comfortable seat, but I think that the cloth seats are more comfortable than the leather seats. Now, in terms of storage, all the stuff you would expect. You've got a couple of cup holders here, a covered center console bin here. You've got some bottle holders in the doors as well, a glove box, and that wireless phone charger as well. So it is pretty practical up front, and it will tick the box if you are looking for a pretty practical little SUV, at least for the front occupants. Let's check out the back. The XV was pretty good for backseat space, and so is the Crosstrek. This seat is set for me at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. There's really good knee room and good foot room as well. It's pretty easy to get in and out, although taller occupants might want to watch their head on that part there, but it's a pretty roomy cabin in here. Now, in terms of the practicalities and amenities in the back seat, you've only got one mat pocket, even on this top spec model. There's bottle holders in the doors, no flip down armrest, no cup holders, so it is falling short when it comes to the usability of the back seat if you are going to carry people back here all the time. Plus, there are no rear air vents, which is a bit of a shortcoming in 2023. A lot of small SUVs have that these days. At least you've got two USB ports, a USB-C and an A, and it is pretty practical when it comes to the space, so you can fit a child seat in pretty easily. There's ISOFIX points in the window seats and 3 top tethers as well. But the Subaru idea around center seatbelts still remains that it should be out of the way, so it still comes out of the pillar and down through this little loop here instead of being integrated into the seat like so many other brands have managed to have in their cars for years now. Subaru just likes to do things differently, obviously. Now, there is a little bit of a intrusion in terms of the transmission tunnel down here, but you should, in theory, be able to fit 3 adults across the back for a short trip maybe. It's not too bad though. Just like the XV that came before it, there are 2 engine options available in the Crosstrek, and there might be a third one coming, hopefully, maybe with a bit more poke. That'd be welcome. Now, there's the entry-level version, which is the 2-litre 4-cylinder boxer horizontally opposed petrol engine. Doesn't have a turbocharger, so it's not necessarily punchy. You can see the outputs on your screen now. They're the same as the last model, and it's got a CVT automatic and all-wheel drive, and so does the hybrid model, but it's got a 12 kilowatt and 66 Newton meter electric motor thrown into the combination, which does add something, but it also adds a lot to the price, and it doesn't actually detract that much from the fuel consumption figures. I'll tell you more later, but yeah, I don't see either of these engines as being the best option yet. Maybe that'll come later. Driving the Crosstrek, unsurprisingly, is quite like driving the existing XV. There are some changes. It is a little bit more involving in some ways, but there's also some of the same old not lovable points. The 2-litre engine and CVT automatic, look, they're fine in most situations. It's just that the engine can feel a bit breathless, especially when you're going up hills at higher speeds. You might find that you have to push pretty hard on the throttle pedal to continue your momentum or even build speed. It's not a zesty engine, it's not a punchy engine, it's not the best engine. I can't wait to drive the hybrid one and see if it's any better in this iteration of the car, but I didn't love it either in the last one. So CVT automatic is pretty good though, although it does have that typical characteristic of lurching from a standstill and then dropping away in terms of the revs. So it'll sort of go, and that can be a little bit frustrating in stop-start traffic too. Can mean it's also hard to modulate your speed at traffic jam speeds as well. Even with the cruise control doing it for you, it tends to lurch and then lag a little bit. It's not the most enjoyable experience when it comes to this engine and transmission. I'm a pretty big proponent of the idea of more power is good. So I think that this car could do with a bit more engine, to be honest. Maybe that'll come, maybe there'll be some kind of improvements to the hybrid system, or maybe there'll be a bigger engine. In the US, they get a 2.5 litre version, which I think Aussies would appreciate. But otherwise, I think the drive experience is pretty good. The steering's fine. It is accurate enough and nicely weighted. And yeah, I think that it does the job. And also it's pretty easy to park too. So it's pretty predictable when it comes to the steering action and response. And the ride comfort, well, it could be a little bit better. It can get a little bit bumpy. Feels a lot sharper than the last generation model, especially at the back. The last one was quite wobbly at the back, but this one seems to be quite a bit more, I guess, firm and sure-footed. I don't mind it, but you know, it's not necessarily the most cushy ride either. In more assertive cornering driving, I did notice that Subaru has basically made it feel a little bit more front biased in terms of the all-wheel drive system. So it's now 60-40 split, where it used to be 50-50 front to rear. So it does kind of feel like you are pulling yourself out of a corner a bit more when you accelerate out of a corner instead of pushing out of a corner, if that makes sense. It is a slight difference, but it's noticeable to someone like me. All in all, it's fine, but it doesn't reset the benchmark. In fact, it still feels a bit behind. The official combined cycle fuel consumption figure for the petrol models is 7.2 litres per 100 Ks, which is okay for the class, but I didn't see quite that low across this launch drive or extended launch drive. I've taken the car home with me. Yeah, 8.2 is what I saw, and I was okay with that because I did a little bit of off-road driving as well in that mix. If you decide you want to spend the extra $3,500 or so to get the hybrid model, you're only going to get 0.7 litres per 100 kilometres better fuel consumption. So the official figure for those ones is 6.5, which is high for the class for a hybrid, because Corolla Cross can do something in the region of 4 and a bit litres per 100 Ks. So yeah, I don't think that the hybrid is the best bet, but you might have a different opinion, and that's totally cool. It's up to you, it's your money. At the time I'm filming this, there is no safety rating available for the Crosstrek, but I would expect that if it was to be put through the ANCAP protocols, it would achieve 5 stars because it comes very handsomely equipped when it comes to safety technology. There's some really good stuff here, including autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian, cyclist and junction detection. There's active lane keeping assistance and blind spot monitoring with lane keeping, which will stop you from swerving into someone if it thinks it's going to happen, but it actually is a little bit overactive and will constantly steer against you when you're trying to merge, which can be a bit annoying. But there's also rear cross traffic alert and front cross traffic alert. So if you're pulling out of a driveway and you can't see either side, if there's cars parked there or something like that, it means that you'll be able to see without being able to see, which is pretty nice. There's also rear auto braking on every grade, and as I mentioned, the top 2 specs come with a panoramic view or surround view, top-down view camera system, which you haven't been able to get on any Subaru before. Plus they've got front and side views and a rear view camera, which you get as standard on the base model. You get reversing sensors on all grades, but no grade comes with front parking sensors, which is a bit weird. I don't know why Subaru doesn't do that. And when it comes to airbags, it's an airbag festival in here. You get 9 airbags, including a front center airbag and curtain airbags for the rear occupants. So in the unfortunate event of an accident, you should be safe in this car. It's really well packaged when it comes to the safety tech. Buy any Subaru model in Australia and you get a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is on par with pretty much every other brand out there. And there's 5 years of cap price servicing as well. The service intervals are 12 months or 15,000 kilometers, which is good. Service pricing is a little high. You'll see the average on your screen now. That's an annual average, so that could be something you want to consider. It's not the cheapest SUV to service. Now, there's also 12 months of roadside assist included when you buy this car, so that's nice. I think the Crosstrek is going to appeal to buyers who, well, maybe are in a couple rather than a family with kids, or maybe they've got grown-up kids, or maybe it's a second car as a run around alongside the Outback or the Forester. Who knows? There are a bunch of options why it might appeal to you. However, I do think that it could be better in some key ways. Even though this is a new generation product, it's falling short when it comes to backseat amenities and boot space. And the engine, well, I'd be waiting to see if there might be something a little bit more zesty coming later on. Hopefully there will be. But tell me what you think. Could you live with the engine? Could you live with the boot space? And is it the right car for you? I'd love to know. If you've ordered one or if you own an old XV, hit me up in the comments and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.